Hello Blender heads, and welcome to, well, something a little bit different than usual. So about a week or so ago, a new add-on for Blender was released. It's called Human Generator, and this is something I'm kind of excited about because I've sort of been playing around with a few different things kind of in the background for the last couple of months. Specifically like motion capture, facial recognition, a few of those different things. And I've been looking at a couple of different tools like the character creation suite from Real Illusion. And then this kind of just came out of nowhere, and I went, oh, okay, this is interesting. Kind of looks like it does something similar, and at $68 for the personal license, and even the $128 for a commercial license, is what I think the character creator is $199 for the base product. So this is really cheap as kind of an entry level. And I did manage to get it while the early bird sale was on. It unfortunately looks like that has ended, so my apologies for not getting this video out a little bit earlier. But even at $68, $70 as just a let's give this a try, I thought, stuff it, let's jump in and let's give it a try. So this isn't a tutorial, this isn't a review as such, this is just an initial impression. This is I was interested in getting something like this, and then this kind of came out of nowhere, so I went and got it, and I have tried it out once or twice just to kind of go, okay, what are we dealing with? And I think it's pretty exciting, so this is kind of just a let's have a look at it, and I suppose to a certain extent just nerd out about it because I'm excited by this. This is really cool. So at some point I'll probably do an actual tutorial and walk through this a little bit more specifically. I don't want to do a tutorial, even a review just yet, because honestly I've only used it a couple of times. I don't know everything about this yet, so I don't want to do a review or anything yet because I might get some things wrong. So don't consider this a step-by-step walkthrough or anything. So you can see I've already installed the add-on. Again, tutorial at some point, I'll walk you through all of this. But you can see here we've got select a body type, we've got male and female. I have actually seen a couple of other people put out videos on this, and they've always done male, so stuff it. We're going to do a female, just to throw something a little bit different in there. And you can see here we've got choice between Asian, Black, Caucasian. It's kind of remarkable that, like, every human on Earth, I'm pretty sure every human on Earth kind of fits into one of those categories, all of those categories. My point is you can kind of generate just about anything from these three races. So, oh look, let's go with Caucasian just because I'm Caucasian and I'm most familiar with that particular facial structure. So let's generate a new human. That kind of sounds like something out of sci-fi, doesn't it? So you can see here, immediately drops a human mesh in there and comes with a rig. Now we won't use the rig until much later, so I'm just going to toggle off displays and let's go and throw this into material mode. Give that a moment to load. These textures are fairly dense, and you can see, like, I mean, that already looks pretty good. And if we zoom in here, you can see that there's quite a lot of fidelity here. You'll notice that, hang on, let's just go and change the view here because we're getting a little bit of clipping on the nose. There we go, now we can really zoom in. So first thing I noticed when we kind of zoom right in on this is that there's definitely some like directionality to the pores. Like you can see in here we do have the under the eyelid wrinkles and sags. I really love the lips. There's quite a nice bit of detail in there. Some of the rest of the face does look a little bit randomly generated, like it's just some sort of noise bump map, normal map placed on that. But I mean, all things considered, it's pretty good. Like, I mean, this is very high quality if you were just looking to get this into, say, a games engine or something. And I mean, this would even hold up for like most, let's say, like a short film or something. I mean, this isn't going to quite stand up to like the Avengers level Hollywood movies. But at the same time, I can kind of look at this and go, there's enough detail there that if you did some stuff on top of this, you could probably get this to photorealism. Like, I don't think we're far off here. Now, my understanding is that the hair textures in this don't work in Eevee yet. That's probably something that'll come with an update, but I'm fairly sure for most of this at least, I can toss this over into rendered view in Eevee, and we should get a slightly nicer view here. Okay, let's just go and turn off world lights. Let's just play with a couple of different lighting setups here. Pick one that looks nice. I'm actually going to go with this darker one. And it kind of looks a little bit plastic at the moment, but we will kind of get to that. So the first thing that we can do here is kind of just play with the overall body shape. So you can just kind of tap randomize and get all sorts of, as one would expect, random. If we zoom out, we've got, in fact, let's just set all of these back to 0, so we're working from kind of a base. So that's the base that we start with. Then we can add muscle, make her quite considerably toned. I do really like, it's such a silly thing to be focused on, but like I really love the kneecaps. Like there's so much, you get a lot of detail through the muscle there. Somebody's obviously done a fair bit of research into like how as you lose fat, how muscles and everything show up. Like this isn't just inflating things. It's proper definition. Like I imagine, if you look at the arms, same kind of thing. So, well, we've got muscle. I assume you can be overweight and muscular at the same time. It kind of starts to look a bit like a bodybuilder. If you lose the muscle, that is kind of cool. Like, so often when you get these kind of overlay things, they don't work well with each other, but this actually does look like somebody who is both overweight, but has worked out, kind of like what genuine bodybuilders or maybe sumo wrestlers would do. So that's overweight. Doesn't look like we can push it any further. Maybe can we overdrive these? No, we're stuck at that. So it doesn't look like we can get like a bulging belly or anything quite like that. So let's lose the overweight. Let's go and have a look at how skinny can we go. Okay, that's pretty skinny. That's sorry, I don't know whether the microphone's picking this up. I've got my dog behind me and she's having a bit of a rollover and a grizzle. So again, like I don't feel like we can push this to like really skinny anorexic kind of level, but that's pretty skinny. Okay, out of curiosity, skinny and overweight at the same time. I mean, it still works, doesn't it? Like, I don't think it's really doing very much, but it's just kind of reducing the overweightness. So, like, if you had that at 0.5 and compared that, they're pretty similar. So you're probably not going to be using the overweight and the skinny at the same time, but hey, that does kind of make some sense. And chest presumably refers to, on a male, an actual pecs, and on the lady, the breast size. Again, I feel like you could possibly overdrive this a little bit more. Like, I mean, these seem to be like a fairly average size for breasts. You're not going to be able to get like double Ds or anything, or anime style if you're into that. So again, a lot of these controls seem to be in a fairly normal zone of a human body. We don't seem to be able to go incredibly overweight or like incredible bodybuilder, muscular, anorexic. But I mean, we do seem to have a fair bit of control here. So I can't say I had a plan for what I was going to do, but let's maybe bulk up the muscle a little bit. And do we want to go slightly chunkier, slightly skinnier? Maybe just a little bit of extra weight there. Maybe just slightly enlarge the chest. Probably about halfway. Let's go halfway. Alright, so hit the next button. And now I'm fairly sure, so we're into the face now, but yeah, there's nothing to stop us from going back and forth, even though we've hit the next button and gone to face, because I'm fairly sure that once we get a certain way through this, it locks us out from going back any further. So we've got face here, And again, we can just go and hit randomize and we can get a fairly wide variety of faces here. Yeah, very round, very angular. That's a very pudgy kind of face. And I think, yeah, and cool, that sets us back to default. So then we've got, everything's very middling, isn't it? So what, we've got forehead size. What's that? Is that from the side or the... Okay, so that's kind of like cranium coming towards the camera. So I might leave that there. Temple size, it's going to be around the eyes somewhere. Ah, yep. There we go. So I can expand that. That's cool. And I imagine that if you were to like come into your front and side views, take a photo of somebody, and try to line them up, you'd get some very... I think you could really fine-tune these results, which would be kind of cool. Actually, I'm just going to go into view 50mm. I don't know. Yeah, I might actually have this at 75. There's a little tip for you. Like, I think your iPhone takes photos at 35mm. The human eye generally works at around about 50mm. But a lot of portrait shots are done at 75mm. So this might actually give us something a little bit more what we're familiar with seeing. So let's just quickly go back through some of these. What do we got there? That looks like a depth of the brows. Let's give her some prominent brows. Vertical. Yep, that's her up and down. So let's leave that somewhere in the middle. Center brow. That looks like it's an in and out again. There's actually quite a bit of variety there. That's cool. So jump onto the eyes. Lid fat pad. Oops. So again, that looks like it's a depth one. We can pudge her eyes in and out. In fact, it is very cool how all the hair and everything, like initially it looks like it's kind of penetrating, but then when you let go, it does pop into place. So height, oh, that's the actual height of the eyes themselves, not the eyelids. Well, I suppose that is the eyelids. So slightly more wide-eyed. Orbit size, that's the actual outer socket. Tilting eyes back and forth, very cool. Width. Not a huge amount of variety in there. Again, these do seem to be sort of locked down to the usual proportions of a human being. You can't like give a massive, frog eyes or anything. A little bit of a shift on the inner eye there. That's presumably the up and down. And lid rotation, again, you probably want to use that in conjunction with the tilting of the eyes. So a lot of fine-tuned control over the eyes there. This really is just like a character creator from a video game. There's quite a bit of control here. So ears, people don't usually pay a lot of attention to ears, so this is kind of nice that we can, is that more of a, yep, flipping your ear back and forth a little bit. Lobe size, very nice. Tilting ears back and forth, this would be particularly useful for trying to get my ears. I kind of have an unfair appreciation for that. And width is, yeah, squashing and stretching. We've got a little bit of control over the height there, which is nice. But again, we're not going to be able to like push this to pointy elvish ears or anything. Keeping in mind that once we kind of finalize all of this, we can go back in and go into our sculpting tools or whatever and refine it pretty much to whatever we want. So lower face, lower skull, I'm assuming this is around jaw. Yep, there we go. Oh, muzzle. I do kind of like that muzzle. I mean, I suppose it is technically a muzzle. You just think of muzzles more as being on dogs or cats or something. And then location, up and down. A bit more stretch through the nose there. That's cool. Cupid bow refers to the lips. That's kind of nice. You can add that a lot more bend into the lips there. Height is presumably, yep, kind of a growing expansion. Location consistently seems to refer to the in and out. I'd think of it maybe more like depth. Offset. Yep, grow the top one, grow the bottom one, depending on how far you want to push that. Does seem to be a little bit of a shame that we don't have like individual control over the lips, so we could make the bottom lip really, really thin, top lip really pudgy. I mean, again, possibly not something that realistically happens all that frequently, but you know, if you were doing somebody who's maybe had a little bit of plastic surgery done, that wouldn't be a bad feature. And then, of course, width, keeping in mind that the corners of the mouth usually line up with the outer edge of the eye, so we probably do want that to be fairly wide, actually. So that's pretty cool. Cheeks. Does she get pudgy cheeks? Really thin cheeks? Zygomatic bone. Not seeing a lot of movement there. Is this more of a sideways thing? Ah, yeah. There we go. You get a little bit of push forward, a little bit of push back. Fairly subtle. But then again, the differences between human beings do tend to be a little bit subtle. What's that one doing? Is that one a sideways movement? Oh yeah, that's kind of popping it out almost diagonally. Okay, that's pretty cool. Jaw, again, it's got location, so that kind of refers to depth. You can give her an underbite or a rather big overbite. Probably somewhere a little bit more middling would be good. Vertical. Oh, that's actually the jaw. That's... Oh yeah, so more of a square jaw, more of a feminine rounded jaw. Let's leave it a little bit more feminine. And width. Again, I'll pull that back a little bit so we get something a little bit more feminine. These would be particularly nice if you wanted to get like that strong chiseled jaw look on a male. Chin dimples. Dimples are cool. I can't actually see... Where are the dimples? Oh, okay. We're getting like this tiny little bit of movement on the chin. Don't really feel like that's doing terribly much, but... I feel like you can have dimples like around the corner of your mouth too, not just on your chin. I don't know, maybe that's something that could be added. Keep in mind that this has been out for like a week or something. I'm sure they're getting a whole heap of feedback, and we'll get a version 2 update at some point. So squishy height of chin, size. It's kind of funky. Okay, that's slightly more of a forward and back protrusion. And then width will be, yeah, as one would expect the width. So let's give her a slightly more pointy chin. Okay, ethnicity. Okay, so who we've got the option. Interesting that this is, ethnicity here is kind of all the way down here under face. Considering that we sort of chose our race right at the very beginning, I'd almost expect this to be slightly higher up, but we now have the option of... I mean, what are you at that point if you're not Asian, Black, or Caucasian? That's a something. So you can either have 100% Caucasian, or you can start dialing these in to get some slightly different appearances. And I have to say, like, you can legitimately tell that, yes, there is some sort of African DNA getting pushed into that, and yeah, same with Asian. That's actually quite nice. So I don't know, let's go with predominantly Caucasian, but let's throw a little bit of Asian blend in there. So that's pretty cool. I'm guessing, because we've got shaders sitting under here, I'm guessing we can probably change the colour of the skin a little bit more further down. And I do like this feature. This is Toya, female. All the characters seem to get their own randomly generated name. I like that. So let's go next. This is something I was looking for. Subsurface scattering on. And I mean, how much of a difference does that just immediately make, particularly on the face there? Like, just suddenly it's nice, soft skin. In fact, all of this stuff, these normal maps kind of looked a little bit maybe low res. I mean, they're probably like 4K or 8K or something. They're still very high res. They just You know, you can see the noise there, and as soon as you add the subsurface scattering, my god, that actually looks really nice. That is really nice. I do believe that having the subsurface on can slow things down a little bit, so while you're generating things, it might be worth leaving it off, but possibly because I'm using Eevee here as the testing bed, we can get this in real time. Like, how cool is this? This is real time. God, I love the future. Okay, so here we go. Here's the tone. I think this will refer to, yep, we can add more whites, more dark. Let's go give her a little bit of a tan, and then redness will refer to, yep, our red, and then the more, oh, goodness me, that's almost turning green there. So generally speaking, if there's a little bit of Asian in there, we probably just want to give it a slightly yellower skin, but only very slightly. So normal strength, we can actually crank that up quite a bit. Whew. Okay, we get some really nice details on like the arms and everything when we crank that up, but what's this set to? This is set to 10, so 10 is a little too high. We don't want it that high. And then we can really basically switch it off and make her look very, very young. So by default it was set to 2. Generally, I set my normal maps to 1. But you could definitely go a little bit higher. Looks like you probably don't want to push it above 4. 4 starts to look a little bit weird, particularly around the chest area. And it almost darkens the face in a like hasn't got enough sleep kind of way. So look, I'm going to leave that at the 2, which is what it was by default. Roughness multiply. Let's just drag this out so I can read that. Come on, mousy mouse. There we go. Oh, it doesn't actually extend anyway. Okay, it's abbreviated. So this will, yep, presumably make her much, much shinier, or start to make her look rougher. So she could have either just come out of the swimming pool, or you can crank it right up and have her walking around a desert. Just because it looks funky, I'm gonna lower that a little bit, just make it look a little bit damp. And we've already gone over the subsurface. So this is shaders eyes. Okay, this is funky. We can just kind of go in and choose pretty much whatever color we want. Some defaults here might not be a terrible idea, because there's obviously certain colors that the eye sort of naturally goes to. There's like, you're unlikely to have a really dark, rich blue. Cool that you can do it. You know, if you wanted to do something that was a little bit more alien or otherworldly fantasy. But I think generally speaking, you'd be wanting to keep it within this sort of realm. And then you certainly don't want to be dipping into this, like, well, I suppose some people do end up with slightly purple eyes, but unlikely to get red or anything. So, what's a nice color? Let's just kind of zoom out a little bit. She does look quite... Let's go with blue eyes. And I might just turn that roughness up. That's kind of irritating me just a little bit. So that's the, well, it's called pupil color. It's technically the iris color. And then we've got the sclera. And again, really cool that you can go in and change that. Like, you can give them a slightly bloodshot. How much does that look like a zombie? Just like that. That's really cool. Again, oh god, what is it? It's a particular disease where your eyes do start to go yellow. Problems with your liver. Can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, if your liver's failing, your eyes go yellow. So funky that you can do that. But broadly speaking, I think you'd want to be leaving that alone. Oops. So dark and light areas. Now, I think this just works on the face. Let's just zoom out. Does it do anything to the rest of the body? No, it looks like it's just the face. So we can kind of add some lighter areas. Just trying to figure out what that would represent. Is that like maybe slightly more blood or something in those particular areas? And then light areas. Yeah, it starts to push like some of the yellow. So from memory, I think The more yellow your skin is, that implies that it's closer to the bone, which would make sense because it's like around the cheekbone there and around the chin predominantly, and around the nose, which I'm assuming is cartilage, must do the same sort of thing. So that's cool. And I mean, turning that off looks cool, but turning both of them up like just a little bit just seems to add this certain level of realism. It's really nice. Then we've got just some general splotches and freckling, so we can make her look very freckly. Now we've kind of gone with a slightly more Asian tone here, so we'll probably dial that back. And then we've got splotches, which is just kind of all over, almost like blood vessels. So I mean, that could be used very nicely to add a kind of aging effect. So again, cranking that up just a little bit adds that little bit of diversity to the face, adds a little bit of realism. So I'm going to leave that fairly low but still on. Beauty spots, already got a few by the looks of it. That looks like one there. So if we start crank it all the way up, and she looks like she's got chicken pox. And this is kind of nice. It does look like it does it, yeah, to the entire body. So that's kind of nice. It's not just a face thing. So don't want to have too many on the face. Let's just bring this down. Where do we want this? Yeah, something like about there. And then of course you've also got the random seed. Yeah, there we go. So I might just leave it with a couple of little ones. And then you can also play with the opacity, so they're not quite as in your face and kind of blend into the skin a little bit more. Alright, under the age, this is kind of nice. So we've got sagging skin, and you can see that does quite nice aging there. And then combining with the wrinkles, and you can really push that age. Now again, this looks like it's... I can't see it anywhere else, so I'm guessing that this is just on the face. So I feel like that face doesn't quite match the rest of the body now. Maybe the rest of the body could do with some additional wrinklage. And again, I feel like we have that similar limitation to what we had before, with like adding extreme weight. Like I'm guessing, like if you turn both of these off, this looks like somewhere around 20-year-old, I would guess. And then if you crank it all the way up, oh, what would you say, like maybe 60, somewhere around there. So it doesn't look like you can kind of, unless let's just like kind of crank that to 12. Oh, look at that, I can crank that up even higher. Ooh, how far can we push it? Let's go 100. There you go. She looks like she's on death's doorstep now. Okay. Again, this seems to just be controlling a normal map. So, like, we can control the skin a little bit, but we're not like getting that really droopy jowl, the chicken neck that people get over a certain age. But we can crank the wrinkles up really high, and oh, hang on, that's locked me back into 20. Crank that back up to 100. Okay, so 100 is probably a little bit too high. It starts to make the skin look just a little bit weird. But I'd say, what, somewhere about... Yeah, I'd say 20 is probably your upper threshold before it starts to look a bit weird. So yeah, we can get quite a bit of age out of this. I feel like... Okay, let's check... No, okay, so I can't crank the sagging skin up any higher. I feel like if you were going for somebody who's like, you know, in their 90s or something, you might get a little bit more saggy skin. So it does kind of look like we're... Maybe it's a little bit ungenerous to say locked into, but it does seem to perform its best between about age 20 to maybe 50. Okay. Let's put her back to young and pretty. Do we want even any wrinkles here? Maybe just a tiny little bit, because that kind of gives her just a little bit of a dimple around the mouth there, which I like. So I might just leave that on. Just a little bit of wrinklage. Okay, makeup. Now I'm not actually sure whether I assume the men get at least access to some of the makeup. I'm not sure. So we've got foundation. Can kind of smooth out her skin a little bit, and that's quite nice. Like it blends nicely with the rest of the body. You know, you don't get, well, actually, if we were to come in here and just do something silly, like, yeah, look, you can give her some sort of painted face or make it look like she's wearing clown makeup. That's cool. I don't want that, and very nice. Hitting undo does actually undo. You can't always guarantee that. So let's give her just a little bit of foundation. Let's try the blush. That's nice and subtle. Again, I love that you could come in here and like do something a little bit crazy, like overdo it. You could end up with somebody who is maybe like doing circus makeup or something. Eyeshadow, yeah, that's quite nice. And again, you could do something crazy like, hey, cool, this is somebody who's going to a party or something, or clubbing. A little bit of lipstick. That looks very nice. I can't say I'm a huge fan of the colour. Oh, there we go. Okay, I feel like I've maybe overdone some of the other makeup now that the lipstick's that strong. Let's maybe dial it back a little bit. Dial back the eyeshadow a little bit. We've got eyeliner as well. Might just come in and give this a little bit more, maybe blue. That's kind of cool. And then eyebrows. Okay, that's kind of like your painted eyebrows, and this is probably really nice once we add some hair to just give it a little bit of coloration into the skin. It might help it blend in that little bit better. Even though it looks a little bit strange here, that might help us later on. So let's set that around about 0.5. Okay, that's makeup. That's all of our shaders. Let's go next, and now we get to start playing with hair. So this is kind of cool. Now I did notice first time I used this, it kind of shows you all of these, and I kind of missed that there was these other ones above and below. So we've obviously got quite a few different hairstyles here. Now, as I said, this isn't the first time I've played with this, and I think all the male hairstyles are really nice. The shorter hairstyles are particularly nice. So if you wanted to go with like short number 2. Now, how well is this going to work? Okay, this looks still okay in Eevee. It gives us an idea of the shape, even if we're not getting the actual hair strands themselves. Let's throw it over into cycles, and let me just adjust a few different settings here. Let's stop it at 128. Let's throw on some viewport denoising, optics, and I hate it starting at that, so let's go with like 32 before it kicks in with the denoising. And I gotta say, like, how nice does that look? Denoiser does tend to make your hair look a little bit, I don't know, it's almost a stylized look. It kind of blurs it a little bit too much. That's all hair in general, it's not just this add-on. But that looks really nice. That's quite realistic. Just we'll give it a few seconds to kick in with the denoiser. Maybe I should lower that denoiser a little bit. Oh, there it goes. You can see, yeah, the denoiser is kind of stripping away like the normal map and everything that we put in there. But broadly speaking, like, how nice does that look? I mean, I don't know how long I've been recording for here, but it's got to be like 15 minutes or something, and we've produced something that good in like 15 minutes. This would usually take days, weeks, maybe even months if you're going to something really realistic. So I'm gonna switch this back to Eevee. We maybe won't be able to see the hair quite as well, but it does allow us to like get in and see all the pores and everything. I think that's a little bit more important. So playing with the hair, the one thing that I've been disappointed about so far is the closest thing that we've got to long hair is maybe the afro and dreads, and then we've got the long bangs. Give that a brief moment. And I mean, they look really, really good. That's like the nice shoulder length cut. And then drop back up here to the long split. And, well, I suppose that's a little bit of a shoulder length cut too. But the one thing that's kind of disappointed me about this, and I think it's particularly relevant to the female characters, is I think that's the longest hair that you can get. I mean, you can still come in here after the fact, and where is it? See, you've got, it keeps all of your particle systems in here, so you can go back in and change things. So what have we got here? Hair long split. So I mean, we can shorten that and set it to 1. What happens if we go and crank this to 2? Yeah, so we can't make it any longer than that. So we'd actually have to go into our particle edit mode and manually grow the hair. So it's a little disappointing that we don't have like hair that goes down the back. There's no ponytail. I feel like a ponytail is a very common hairdo. There's no pigtails. Admittedly, pigtails are probably more for like young girls, like 12-year-olds or something. I don't think we could make something as young as a 12-year-old here. But yeah, again though, this has only been out for a week or so. I'm sure we will see a whole bunch of stuff come out for this, over the next weeks, months, years, however long. So I'm sure that will be added at some point, but I'd love to see some long hair, some ponytails. Keeping in mind that, I know that long hair is so much harder to design for, particularly if you're doing dynamics and stuff, it becomes annoying. So I can perfectly understand why so many of these hairstyles are the shorter type of hairstyles. Let's go with a pixie short. I quite like the way that one looks. As a short hairstyle for a female, I think the pixie cut is quite nice. Oh, and here we go. We do actually have a length, so we can crank that up there. I think that's even nicer. Let's leave that. So then we've got eyelashes, which we can. Hang on, is that length? Maybe is that not working, or is that because I'm not viewing it properly? Let me just jump back over to cycles. Hopefully this won't be too hard to actually see. I might just focus in on the eye here. And let's go length, drop that right down. Oh yeah, that does seem to be working. I can't quite tell whether it's adjusting the length or whether it's adjusting the number of lashes. If I completely turn it off, give it a second. No, they do look like they're the same length. If it's doing something, it's not doing much. So, and then let's just have a look at the brow again. Now I do know that if we go to these particle systems here and look at, what is it, children? Oh, no, the display amount's set up. Hang on, I feel like this maybe hasn't. Here we go, children are hidden. Let's try, hang on. There we go, that's given us, okay, so that maybe isn't working properly by default, but that definitely seems to have given us a lot more length. Let's jump back into rendered view here, and if I set that to 0, again, that does seem to just be more culling the number rather than growing the length. Yeah, there just seems to be more of them. And what about eyebrows? If we set that to 0, oh no, that one actually does. I think that one's done. So it's so hard to tell. Let's disable that. Let's just go back to Eevee so we can see this a little bit better. Maybe we can see it. Yeah, it seems to just be more adding thickness than actual length there. The hair, on the other hand, is legitimately growing. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Again, like so many of these things, like we can come back in here and change a whole heap of this stuff after the fact. So we can probably, if we wanted to go with like really long, floppy eyelashes, we probably could. Okay, so that's hair length, hair thickness. Not 100% sure there. We've got hair material. Okay, so we are probably going to need to be in cycles to be able to see this. So let's maybe jump back to cycles. And let's just kind of grab just the top of the head there so we're not rendering as much. So we've got eyebrow and lashes here. Okay, so let's maybe just zoom in on the eyebrows and lashes. So we've got lightness. Let's just crank this a long way up so we can really see a big difference. You can see that those turn very, very blonde. Drop the redness. And you can see they actually start to almost turn white, which is kind of cool. You could do a white-haired lady. So let's just kind of set this back to something a little bit more middling. And these are such thin things that adjusting the roughness, you're probably not going to see too much. But you possibly will be able to see it on the hair. So I'm going to kick that denoising in just a little bit faster. So we will lose a little bit of detail as it kicks in the denoising. But we'll be able to see the colour a little bit better. So let's hop over to the hair. So again, we've got lightness, really like platinum blonde. Drop it all the way down, we get black. If you kill the redness, you end up with pretty much white hair. Crank it all the way up, and ooh, that goes a bit funky. Okay, what do we need to do to actually get like an actual redhead? Okay, so reasonably dark, and then crank up the redness, and yeah, that looks fairly well like a redhead. I think the lighting here is kind of making it pop a little bit and give us this yellowy sort of glow. Also, the denoising possibly isn't helping too much there. But okay, let's try and make her a bit of a redhead. Let's go back to her eyelashes, lower the lightness, crank the redness. Let's see what we can do with that. Also kind of nice, you've got the salt and pepper here. We may not be able to see this particularly well. You can see it's starting to pick up some little bits and pieces there. Just to kind of add a little bit of age. So we added a few wrinkles there. Let's maybe just give her a very light smattering of salt and pepper. And then root color. So what's that? Looks like we darken the roots. Ooh. Once we turn that on, we get even more options. So we can make the roots lighter or darker. Apologies, you probably won't be able to see this terribly well at your end, but you know, take my word for it. I can tell that is making them significantly lighter, and then significantly darker, and then we've got root redness, which she's a redhead. We probably do want to have a little bit of that in there. I feel like that salt and pepper is still fairly strong. Let's maybe go with a 0.01 or something. So that's really cool, and again, once you're done with everything, there's nothing that stops you from coming into your shader editor. This is the skin texture. I know it looks big and daunting in this. I have kind of been into it and been able to change it myself. It's basically all of the different options within the shader. And each of these blocks sort of matches up to either the freckles or the beauty spots. It's actually quite intuitive once you get into it. So you have that option. Where do we get up to? Hair. Are we done with the hair? Yep, I think we're done with the hair. So let's turn that off. Let's go to the next tab. Kind of nice that it does switch the hair down to the just the strands. That's probably getting it ready for animation and such. You don't want these to be cranked up really, really high because it'll really slow down your viewport. And I think all we've got to do now is change her height. So 1.83 is fairly tall for a female, so we can shrink her down. I do notice that once you get to a certain shortness, okay, so we can only go as low as 1.5, which is pretty short. But 1.5 is obviously an adult, so we're obviously not going to be able to get down to, as I was talking before with the pigtails, like children. But you do kind of get to a certain height there, and they almost start to, like if we go back to the default, you can see that it doesn't just shrink, it almost squashes. I don't know whether that's deliberate. It starts to feel a little bit dwarvish. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not, or whether you want that as a separate controller. Because I mean, you can just have short people. They don't have to start developing dwarfism as you get smaller. So that's as small as we can go. How big can we go? It was 1.83 is how we started at default. And we can go up to 2 meters. 2 meters! That is huge. So again, you're not going to be able to get like a giant or something. Although, I mean, you can obviously just come in and scale this yourself at some point. So again, we've kind of got these limitations in terms of we can't go ridiculously tall, we can't go ridiculously short. We're kind of locked into this fairly, quote-unquote normal human. So for a female, I might just go 1.7, 1.66. That looks good. We're just getting a little bit of squishiness there. That's okay. So let's go finish the creation pose. Comes up with the confirm here. You can't go back to previous tabs, so once you hit this, it will lock you out from everything else. Like I said before, you can still go into like the shader editor, or like your blend shapes. Blend shapes. I'm thinking Maya. Your shape keys, and kind of go in and tweak things a little bit more manually. You'll just lose access to the character creator. So let's go and tap finish there. Give it a brief moment to kind of load everything in. And it's getting very dark here, so I'm just going to try and open that a little bit and hopefully not get too much glare. Can I open that one? Okay. My apologies. I live in Queensland. We've got to that time of year where it's starting to get dark really early. Like it's 5:15 now and it's getting dark. So my apologies. So now that we've finished the actual creation phase, actually this is interesting. Oh, you can revert to creation phase. This discards any changes made after the creation phase. Okay, so if we were to go in and say add some clothing now, and then go, you know what, I just want to tweak her eyebrows a little bit. It looks like you can go back. You just might lose the clothing and have to redo some work. So it doesn't completely lock you out though. That is really nice. Actually, it's really nice. Okay, so clothing. We've got quite a lot of different options here. Now I've sort of been through a few of these. So relaxed Wednesdays. I do love their names. Hang on, I'm just turning materials back on here. So what have we got? We've got relaxed Wednesday, skinny look, yeah, smart casual, stylish. Weekend warrior. That's cool. I really do like some of these clothing, like the wrinkles and folds and everything. Somebody's paid some good attention to that. I think my favorite one though, like just in terms of the name, is Barbecue Barbara. I think on the men it's Barbecue Barry. I mean, I hate the outfit. I mean, like artistically it's fine. I just, oh my god, I hate to actually have to wear that. And I did hear somewhere, I can't remember whether it was written in like the forums or something, it might just be this jacket, or it might be a couple of different things. This one's, it's like really, really shiny. I think that's a bug that's going to get fixed at some point. So let's just throw up a couple of stock exchange. What's this? Okay, that's like a proper, wow, that makes her legs look really like chunky and muscular. I mean, I know we made her a little bit muscular, but that is a tight fitting outfit. We've got actual suits. That's actually not bad. That doesn't look too, that's a kind of professional look. Again, it does feel just like a little bit tight, like the wrinkles there are like, it feels like it's pulled really tight there. And the jacket too is like almost glued to her body. You kind of expect a little bit of flop and flow. But I mean, there's no reason you couldn't come in, again, after the fact and add like some cloth simulation or something to this to make that sit a little bit more nicely. Sorry, I'm just noticing here, like, how nice is the detailing on the fingers, like the wrinkles along the knuckles, the actual fingernail itself, how they've got that little, I can't remember what that white bit at the end is called, like, yes, they've been cut, but they haven't been cut back to the quick. Very nice attention to detail there. Sorry, getting distracted. We're talking about clothing here. I mean, I kind of get it from a add-on universal point of view. As good as these outfits sort of are, they're very architectural rendering. These are like the going to work or those random people that they always have in architectural renders, just kind of standing off in the background sort of thing. Like in and of themselves, they're not. Okay, this is probably coming from just from me because of my wants and desires out of 3D. Like, I want to create human beings that are like, warriors and Lord of the Rings-esque sort of things with broadswords and armor plating and all that sort of stuff. And I do know that underneath the extras here, there's a whole heap of stuff. We're not going to go into this because I frankly don't understand it enough yet. But there's a whole heap of stuff in here where you can create your own packs. So at some point, maybe I'll start putting together some like armor plating packs and start to, live some of my own fantasies out of these characters. So at some point, I'd love to see that sort of stuff added into this add-on. Whether or not that's the original developers or whether it's the rest of the community that makes those, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But I'd certainly be willing to pay a few extra dollars for some more fantasy or sci-fi-esque sort of outfits. So look, I don't really like business suits, so let's go for, I like the Weekend Warrior. I think that's nice and casual sort of outfit. So then we've got footwear, a whole range of different footwear. We're a Weekend Warrior in this case, so let's running shoe, suede sneaker. Let's just go and have a look at these. What do we think of those? They look like fairly casual and comfortable, or do we want to go with the running shoe? Do people actually run in those kind of shoes? I think I used to have a pair of those shoes, and I mean they were very comfortable, but I wouldn't want to run in them. So I think those look. They're called running shoes, but I think they look casual and comfortable enough. Let's go with those as our shoes. And then of course you've got a whole slew of different poses here. A pose, which is what we're in by default. Let's just maybe play with a couple of different poses. Standing and blocking the sun. Yeah, I mean these I've been through a few of these poses already, and I think they're pretty good. If you actually put a phone in her hand there, I think that would be nice. And there might be a little bit of like penetration going on there with the jumper, but even that just kind of like you'd expect it to poof out a little bit there, and it does, which is quite a nice nice attention to detail. Yoga pose. Okay, she wouldn't be doing yoga in jeans, and you can see that she wouldn't be doing yoga in jeans because that doesn't quite look right. The one thing that I'm a little disappointed with all of these poses is we've got like running poses and yoga poses and quad stretch poses. That's quite nice. Standing and blocking the sun, handshakes. I'd say the closest one we've got is maybe the standing looking up, but there's no just like, I'm standing. Standing casually, like not necessarily doing anything, but just a loose standing there, maybe head turned ever so slightly. These are all very posy poses as opposed to just a natural sort of pose. But anyway, where's because I really would just like to have her in a standing here fairly neutral pose, and I don't really have a standing here sort of neutral pose, and the A pose is just kind of a little bit boring. But look, stop it. Let's just use the A pose now and roll with that. Then we've got expressions. I have to say, I've again played with a few of these, and these are particularly nice. One criticism that I have seen is that unlike the poses pose where you can go back to an A pose, there doesn't seem to be a set back to default pose, which is a little bit annoying. But again, you can probably, if I just click on her mesh, foot down. Okay, it doesn't look like we have the actual faces in there so that we could go back and change them ourselves. What happens if we just go and add the smile? Ah, there we go. Okay, now we get the smile. Okay, so although you can't actually see it adds them and then removes the other one. So if we wanted to go back to neutral, we can just come in here and go back to neutral. And then of course we can sort of start to blend them and get oh look at that, we've got surprised smile, and that actually looks quite natural. So yeah, again, you got all of these things you can kind of go through and tweak. So I might just go back to a regular smile there. In fact, I might even dial that back a little bit just so it looks a little bit more natural. And oh, look at that. Okay, so we actually get all of these in here as well as down there. So you can be like playing with your render settings at the same time as playing with those. That's really cool. Now the one last thing, and I actually kind of missed this the first time that I played with things, you can, you click on heads and the body and everything and you get all of these options, but you can also come and click on the actual clothing items and get a whole bunch of completely different options with these. So we can delete the clothing item, or we can go and change some color. Can I just go with random? Yeah, look at that, we can do random. So, I don't know, let's go with a nice kind of warm top there. I can probably turn the overlays off. We can go with our jeans here. Oh, okay, so we've got wear amount. I haven't actually played with this yet, so this is like genuine first reaction. Oh, yep, you can see you start to get the fading. It's subtle, but it's there. I wonder if you can like change the color of that. Maybe you can in the shading, the actual material editor. It just looks like you get a kind of, I don't know, browny sort of color there. So we've got the main color, so we can tweak that. Now you can really start to see the fading. That's kind of cool. What color do we want her jeans to be? Do we want to go with like more of a khaki? I don't know. She's starting to look a little bit brown all over. So let's maybe put that back to blue where it was before. I don't mind that. And let's maybe reduce the fading. Stitches. Stitches, I'm assuming, is these. Oops, that's main color. So we can change the stitching. Maybe just leave them at white because we've gone with something a little bit lighter color. Buttons. Where are the buttons? Do these have any buttons? Let's just crank that up. Hang on, I'm just going to isolate those pants. Oh, there we go. There's the buttons. They're just kind of a little bit hidden under the top. We've got a roughness multiplier. Okay, so that's to the whole thing, so you can make it look like she's got very wet jeans. Or you can crank that up quite a bit. I might crank that up a bit just so we can... just so that button looks a little bit more washed out. You can see, look, it's... I think that button... Maybe I'm just cranking it too high and it's distorting or something, but it actually looks like the button has like tiny little scratches and everything on it. That's really nice attention to detail. And again, like with the face, we've got the normal strength, so we can make them look a little bit older or younger. I think where they have it as default is pretty close. Just out of interest, what are we working with at the top? Again, we can make it look like she's gone for a swim in her jumper, which probably isn't the best idea. And again, normal strength to really, so you can make it look really nice and soft like it's just come out of the wash, or we can crank that up and, well, you probably don't want to crank it too high because, again, that starts to make it look a little bit wet. So let's put these back to kind of around about default. I think that was too default. Might make it look a little bit softer. And then we've got patterns. So what patterns can we add? Again, first time seeing all of this, because I completely missed it the first time around. So, bunch of random patterns. Certainly plenty of variety there. And again, I'm sure that if you wanted to come in and, like, I don't know, put a logo or something on there, or make it a particular brand, like, I don't know, a Nike or something, I'm sure you could. And my dog is just kind of crawling all over the place. Hush, hush, doggy. And then, yep, you can make it look a little bit more faded. We've got a whole variety of colors here. Okay, so when you've only got the one stripe, you can only affect the one stripe, and then if you go with something like the camouflage, you can presumably get in there and really start to tweak it. So here's the question. Ah, yes, cool. Ooh, transforms. Oh, okay, so these are obviously randomly dynamically generated, so we can actually go in and fiddle with transforms and scales, and so we can really make it look like a mess, or go for like really big painty splotches, and that's very nice. So I might just remove that, and just out of interest, let's go and have a look at the pants. And it looks, oh god, those are garish. Oh, that's just like, that's awful. I love it. So again, we've got all of these. I think these look like they're basically the same patterns. And I don't think any of these patterns look particularly good with this particular color of pants. So again, I might just remove that. And I'm pretty sure we can do something similar with the shoes patterns, and yeah, okay, so it's the same patterns. In fact, some of these might look alright on the shoes. Give them kind of a sketches look. There's one that looks nice. Ooh, those are horrid. Okay, I don't mind that. And then we can always, what color am I tweaking here? You know, make it a slightly different shade of blue or something. In fact, what's randomize do? Oh, okay, so randomize is randomizing the pattern, but it's not randomizing the color. So I can't even remember what I had before. I just choose a couple of different shades of blue to sort of blend that in. And now I think we've got to the bottom of it. So now we're down into the extras, which I'm not going to cover right now until I've had a little bit more time and experience to play with this. Oh, I'm still in cycles. I was hoping that was So just out of interest, jump over into Eevee, and yet the hair is not quite, not rendering, properly. Wow. Certainly get plenty of masks. So I'm pretty sure if I just come here and hide that, yes, you can see that these masks are like hiding underneath the clothing. That should help if you want to rig these up and animate them. So let's just go to our particle settings here, and I'm just going to go down to children and crank these up so that we get the full head of hair. Yoink. And eyebrows. And yeah, okay. So I don't know whether having those controls in the add-on itself might be useful. It does lead to the danger of people just cranking them up and crashing Blender. And I assume that yes, they will render with their full settings. So when you hit render, you'll get the full head of hair. So Eevee's not quite working here. Let's swap over to cycles and let's just sort of have a look at what we've made here. We can close that, and yeah, I mean, again, not sure how long this recording's been going for, but what, like half an hour? It's certainly well under an hour, and we've managed to produce an almost photorealistic human very, very quickly. And I mean, our denoisers are kind of stripping away some of our detail there, but if I zoom in on like the face, wait for that denoiser to kick in any minute now. Okay, so that's still stripping away some of our detail. I might do a proper render and just put that up as like the ending frame. But yeah, so like final thoughts on this is just, this is really cool for an incredibly low entry price. Like when you consider, so just to talk about a few of the other things. So we've obviously got human generator for Blender. You've got character creator from Real Illusion, which is its own standalone thing. MetaHuman was just put into early access just this morning. I've signed up for that, so I'm hoping I get into that program and we'll be able to do a bit of a comparison between the two. But like, this is just a really exciting time to be in 3D, because this stuff was so hard before. Like I say, this could take days, weeks, months to create something this realistic. And now there's tools out there for like, I mean, the personal version of this is under $100. And the pro version, the commercial license, is under $200. So just, we've got access to these incredible tools at these incredible price. And as they say on 2-minute papers, what a time to be alive. All right, I'm going to hit render now, and I'll show you the final result.